Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS news for Monday, December 24. The governments of Jamaica and Japan have agreed in principle on a tax convention between the two countries. Among other things, the convention will clarify the scope of taxation in the two countries, eliminate international double taxation, and prevent tax evasion and avoidance. It is also expected to promote further mutual investments and economic exchanges between Jamaica and Japan. The convention will be signed after the final text has been fixed and the necessary internal procedures have been completed by each of the two governments. It will then enter into force after the completion of the domestic process in both countries. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ says it's seeing increased demand for the local currency in December, reflecting increased holiday spending. The central bank says it issued $4.2 billion in currency between December 1 and 14, representing a 3.8% growth for the month to date compared to a net issue of $1.4 billion over the same period in 2017. The BOJ is projecting that total demand for local currency is expected to increase by $18.1 billion, or 16.5%, leading to an estimated $128.1 billion in circulation for this December. According to the bank, this anticipated increase represents an accelerated annual growth rate of 15.5% when compared to 12.9% for December 2017. This projected acceleration in real currency demand is consistent with the higher growth rate that has been evident between August and November 2018, which is possibly associated with a strengthening in real GDP growth and employment over the second half of the year. The Southeast Regional Health Authority, SERA, says work to replace one of two elevators at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital should be completed by the first week in January. The installation is being done under a project that's financed by the National Health Fund, NHF. In the meantime, SERA says a technical team is working hard to repair the maternity hospital's second elevator. It will also be replaced once installation of the first elevator is complete. Contingency plans are being implemented to reduce, as best as possible, any inconvenience that may be caused while the elevators are out of commission. Victoria Jubilee is one of 4 facilities within the Southeast Regional Health Authority that has benefited from the elevator replacement project. One was replaced at the Princess Margaret, another one at the Spanish Town Hospital, and most recently 2 at the National Chest Hospital.
You can't have a situation where you have a hospital and patients or doctors or nurses can move from one floor to the next efficiently. 76 million in 5 hospitals, and this is the start of others to come because of the importance of ensuring that we have the infrastructure to carry out our efforts.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, has deployed additional personnel to reinforce security in major commercial areas during the festive season. Communications Officer in JCF's Corporate Communications Unit, Sergeant Sean J. Mitchell, says the force is reducing its administrative placement and putting more persons into operational deployment. But while the police step up their visibility, Sergeant Mitchell is encouraging Jamaicans to reduce the number of jewelry they wear and amount of cash they travel with to improve their own safety. He encourages the use of credit or debit cards and says persons should avoid big handbags or bulky wallets and purses. The JCF's communications officer, however, stresses that individuals should monitor their bank cards while conducting transactions so that persons do not clone or duplicate the cards. And when withdrawing money, persons are encouraged to use automated teller machines that are heavily trafficked and examine the machines to ensure that duplicate keypads are not placed on the legitimate ones. Justices of the peace, JPs, who serve as lay magistrates or mediators, may soon be able to receive a monetary compensation for these services. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck made the disclosure at a recent commissioning ceremony for Justices of the Peace in St. Andrew.
Now, there are other areas as Justice of the Peace in which you may be able to develop, such as being mediators, and in short order, many of you, after serving, may well become lay magistrates, and the ministry is looking at opportunities for Justice of the Peace when they serve as lay magistrates, maybe to get a stipend, when they serve as mediators, to also get a stipend.
Minister Chuck also made a plea to Justices of the Peace to offer their services with fairness and objectivity. And finally, the Access to Information ATI unit will be undertaking some critical initiatives aimed at improving service delivery, as well as compliance and reporting mechanisms for government ministries, departments, and agencies. Director at the unit, Damian Cox, says the unit will be introducing institutional report cards. These will measure how public authorities are performing in terms of providing access to information and the overall fulfillment of access to information rights. He says the initiative will commence with a pilot in 10 public authorities. It is aimed at addressing some of the gaps that have been identified through the complaints and appeals processes.
We're pushing for a baseline assessment of access to information, knowledge of rights for next year, in 2019, where we're going to be both ramping up our public education campaign and then measuring actually how many persons know about their rights, what it's all about, how they can use access to information to empower themselves.
This ATI unit is mandated to monitor the implementation and application of the Access to Information Act across all government entities. Its ultimate role is to promote transparency, accountability, and public participation in the national decision-making process. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.